Good evening. This is John Dean. It is about 9:22 p.m. on January 16th, 2019. I've had time now to review the dash cam footage from Vehicle 1 that was involved in the New Year's Eve accident on Route 78 at milepost 51.8 in Union Township on the westbound travel lanes of 78. The reason for this video is to refute, and establish the actual facts of the accident and the circumstances surrounding all those involved in the accident and specific details of the accident, and to, I guess, to further assess and accurately depict who is to blame and who is responsible for the accident. The existing police report, which you have the crash investigation report diagram up on screen, shows that I'm in Vehicle 4 in my pickup truck. I'm traveling behind Vehicle 3, which is a Toyota Camry. Vehicle 2 is a Mercedes C240, which is white in color, and then there's a gray Dodge Durango in the fast lane. The trooper's report finds that I was traveling too closely and swerved into the right lane to avoid a collision, thus collided with Vehicle 2, setting V2 in an uncontrollable state, and Vehicle 2 crossed lanes, hit Vehicle 1, and caused those cars to cross the curb divider, across the express lanes, and into the center divider. The trooper also found that Vehicle 3 was braking for apparently no reason. My statements made to the trooper, which were not reflected accurately in the report, are that I was traveling behind the Camry and maintaining a safe distance and traveling under the speed of passing traffic, because the individual had previously exhibited road rage and tried to run another car off the road on the exit ramp from the Parkway to 78 West, and was tailgating other cars, and I did not feel safe passing this vehicle, and this vehicle continued to brake check on the exit ramp and then traveling at a slow speed on 78, and I tried to remain behind this driver as I was traveling with my 11-year-old and my 5-year-old, and I did not feel like getting into a showdown or a chase or being potentially run off the road. So as I was traveling in the right lane, which is evidenced in the video, behind this Toyota Camry, the Camry eventually switched into the left lane. I wanted to remain behind the vehicle, obviously, for safety purposes, but at a safe distance. And upon the Toyota changing into the center lane, before I could actually make my vehicle completely in the center lane, the individual slammed on their brakes. So for the duration of the accident, which is evidenced by the video, if you watch for the white line, dashed line markers for the lanes, you'll notice that my truck is actually in between the two lanes. The majority of my truck is in the center lane. The right, probably 0.25% or 25% of my truck is in the right lane, and I never actually make it into the center lane completely. The Mercedes, traveling in the right lane, does not brake, does not swerve, does not make any attempt to avoid collision, and actually collides with my truck in the right rear, thus causing my truck to rotate ever so slightly clockwise, pushing my truck forward as the car runs alongside the entire side of my passenger side of the truck. And then the momentum from this pushes my truck forward such that my left driver's side front corner taps the passenger rear of the Toyota in the bumper. And the video all reflects this if you play it in a frame-by-frame view, which I'm going to do right now. So as we go to the video, I'll play it first in its entirety so you can see it as it is recorded from driver 1 in the Dodge Durango. The 3 cars are traveling in the right lane. I start to change lanes, immediately stepping on the brakes to avoid colliding with the Camry. Mercedes hits my truck, crosses the lanes, hits the Durango, causing the Durango and the Mercedes both to travel across the median, across the express lane, and into the center divider. Now, as we go back to the start of the footage, and we look at this point, all 3 cars, vehicle 4, vehicle 3, and vehicle 2 are in the right lane. Vehicle 1 is traveling in the left lane at about 58 to under 60 miles per hour. Now, at this point, the Toyota starts to change lanes. I indicate, which is shown by my turn signal, and follow the Toyota into that lane, which is right there. And almost immediately, the Toyota starts braking, which causes me to brake, which is right here. Now, as soon as I apply the brakes, I am on the brakes for a time count of 6 seconds. Meanwhile, the entire time that I'm on the brakes for 6 seconds, slowing down to almost a complete stop, the Mercedes does not brake, does not swerve, does not move, does not adjust. And it's evidenced in the video as I play it. No brakes, no brakes, no brakes. Still no brakes. And that's at the point of impact right there. So as I back up here, the car impacts my vehicle. At this moment, my right taillight flickers. My brakes are on from the impact. I push my foot went back on the brake. My taillight comes back on. My left brake light is on. And now my right brake light is restored. So this, and if you look, you will see that the back half of the Mercedes is still behind my truck. So what this shows is that at the moment of impact, the Mercedes hits the right rear of my truck, and the abrupt impact causes the electrical connections in the taillight to disconnect or jostle or what, such that the current is interrupted and the light malfunctions or is turned off. You can see this is evidenced in the damage pictures, which show this is the right rear bumper, which you can see is pushed in, okay, from the right rear. And further evidenced here, a different angle shot showing the initial impact of the Mercedes on my truck. And then as you look down along the body of the truck, you'll see damage to the rear cab, to the doors as it continued. And the damage becomes less as it moves more towards the front of the truck. But what is also evident here, which is really key, is the right rear cab, which was struck by the Mercedes. If you zoom in, you will see contact transfer of white paint. This is white paint on red from the Mercedes. Okay? So going back to the video, this is the point of impact. My tail lights flicker on and off. The Mercedes, during this whole time, does not brake at all. Now, look at this. Right here is the white marker of the left side of that right lane. And look how closely the Mercedes is traveling to that marker. Now, look up ahead, and you'll notice here's the white marker of the center lane. And look how far over to the right I am. I'm actually over the white marker with the rear of my truck and mostly in the center lane, but occupying 2 lanes. Why? Because I could never completely make the lane change because the driver in front of me slammed on the brakes, and I was slamming on the brakes and braking for this entire duration, which again is evidenced by the video. As you see, go back, go back, go back. Okay, right here, I signal to change lanes. My brakes are on. Mercedes never reacts, brakes, swerves, nothing. Here's another shot of the white line marker. The Mercedes is actually hugging the left side of the right lane. We're braking. Here's another shot of the marker. Mercedes is approaching. Right here's another marker. So the Mercedes is traveling in the left side of the right lane. Here's another marker as it's approaching the front of the car. You can see how close the car is to the painted line. And the Mercedes drives into the rear of my truck. Bam. That's impact. Taillight malfunctions or is disconnected temporarily. Comes back. Brake light's restored. Electrical continuity is restored to the light. Meanwhile, the Mercedes at this point is already causing damage along the right side, the passenger side of my truck, and which is evidenced by the paint transfer. And then the momentum, the impact of the Mercedes causes my truck to lurch forward. And what you see is the gap between me and the Toyota Camry in front of me closed very quickly. Now, the other thing to note here too is the Mercedes looks further over to the right now, because as it sideswiped along, hit my right rear, sideswiped along, okay, my truck was pivoted or rotated clockwise. It does appear that there is some contact between my truck and the Mercedes after the door at that point, but the Mercedes was already in the initial start of the accident by rear-ending me. And my driver's side bumper is coming into contact with the Camry's right passenger side bumper, which is right about here at the point of impact. So my truck is spun just a little bit such that my driver's side front hits the passenger side rear of the bumper. The Mercedes continues traveling because the Toyota and I are almost at a complete stop. And what is also very important to acknowledge is the appearance of the driver's cell phone as it comes into view through the window and then disappears. Now, this could be the driver was holding the cell phone up to their ear and turned, and the phone exposed itself to our view. Or maybe they were fumbling for the phone, trying to regain control of the steering wheel because maybe they were on their phone while the car was proceeding forward. And obviously they didn't brake, they didn't swerve, they didn't acknowledge that the truck was in their lane. And it appears that this driver was distracted. And the rest is the impact with driver one in the Durango. And at this point, they cross over and travel into the center divider. So as we go back and look at this, all of this directly refutes the findings of the trooper's investigation report. Again, here I am, braking for a time frame of 6 seconds. Now, a lot can happen in 6 seconds. The driver in the right lane, who, according to her report, states, I was in the right lane getting ready to take the next exit when I noticed the cars in front were really close. Suddenly, the truck in the middle lane turned into me. That is not true. She hit my truck, spun my truck in a clockwise rotation, and then after striking my vehicle and causing damage along the passenger side, eventually my truck rotated and appeared to touch her car. The driver 3, who is the real cause of the accidents by slamming on the brakes for no apparent reason when there is no traffic in front of us, as evidenced by the video. Impact. Look at this. There are no cars or vehicles in front of all 3 lanes. So, as my initial statement that I made to the Trooper Thomas, this guy was exhibiting road rage, driving recklessly, trying to cause an accident, okay? And he did. He was successful in that attempt. And his excuse was that he was slowing because of traffic. There was no traffic. This individual was trying to start trouble, and they caused it. Now, going back here, throughout this entire duration, had maintained a safe speed, a safe distance. I was not traveling too closely. The distance between me and the Camry did decrease very quickly as the Camry was slamming on the brakes and slowing down very aggressively, which caused me to close the distance. But again, I was almost at a complete stop, as was the Camry, when we were hit by the Mercedes. As you can see as I forward the video. Now, look how fast we're coming up. The Durango's coming up on us. We are almost stopped at this point. I let off my brakes because for a moment, I'm thinking, okay, I'm almost to a stop. If this guy stops on the highway, what do? I cannot sit here parked in the middle of 78. But before I could react, okay, I did not swerve, but before I could react, the Mercedes hits me in the right rear, causing the damage, causing a malfunction to my taillight, spinning my car, causing my driver's side front bumper to hit the right rear bumper of the Camry. Now, damage to my vehicle on the driver's side, which is not shown in this cam, which I cannot account for other than there's another vehicle that was involved in the accident who did not stop. And I don't know if they were drinking and they decided that they were not going to pull over and then be arrested for driving while intoxicated. But as you can see, on the driver's side, I was struck or sideswiped along the driver's side, along the wheel well, along the cab of the bed and the cab right here. They even hit the running boards. The back door. Literally impacting my truck on the entire driver's side. I can't account for this vehicle. I do not know what type of vehicle. It's not in the camera, in the dash cam video, but it is not explained by any of the other cars that had pulled over. But I do remember being sideswiped and hit from the left side as well. And unfortunately, that driver did not stop, so there's no information to provide related to that damage or that incident. Again, going back to the video, the important things to note here are I am braking. I am in 2 lanes. The Mercedes does not brake or swerve or make any attempt to avoid the collision. They're traveling close to the left side of the right lane. At the moment of impact, there is a malfunction in my taillight due to the impact. The driver had plenty of time to respond and react. If they weren't on their phone and distracted and was paying attention, they would have seen that they were going to impact my truck and should have been able to respond, or to brake or swerve or avoid the accident. The impact of the Mercedes propels me forward because, again, both vehicles are almost to a complete stop. But now that I've been struck by the Mercedes, I am pushed forward into the Toyota. And then right here, we will get a glimpse of the operator's cell phone. And then it disappears from view. So I think this is pretty substantially indicative of a distracted driver in a Mercedes who failed to maintain a safe distance, did not brake, was not observant and paying attention while driving. She was distracted. She struck my right rear, causing me to hit the vehicle in front of me, and then she lost control of her vehicle and then crossed over multiple lanes and struck driver one. Again, this is all clearly evidenced in the video as you go still frame by still frame. You will notice in the pictures, the damage to the cab, that we've got white paint transfer right here from the Mercedes. And then on the driver's side front, we've got gray paint transfer from the Toyota, which are the impacts that I can account for. Again, I don't know who sideswiped me on the driver's side, but apparently I definitely was hit on the driver's side as well. And I think this is clearly in contradiction to the police report. If you look at the diagram, this diagram is not, the crash diagram is not accurate. Vehicle 4 was occupying part of lane, the right lane, part of the center lane. Vehicle 2 struck vehicle 4, pushing vehicle 4 into vehicle 3. Vehicle 2 continued to sideswipe vehicle 4, which is my truck, lost control, crossed the lanes, and hit vehicle 1, sending both vehicles into the center divider. Okay, that's my interpretation of the video. I think if you play it back frame by frame, you will have the same conclusion. I am hopeful that when I meet with Trooper Janeo, that he will amend his report to reflect the actual truth and facts of the case and of the accident as shown in the video. And that's all. I'm grateful that nobody was hurt or seriously injured. It's amazing considering that this was a 4-car, and I honestly think a 5-car accident, knowing that another car was involved but did not stop. That's the conclusion of my review of this video and the facts of the case. And that's all. Thank you.